Hi, I'm Ariel Baska, and I'm used to hosting a particular group on Clubhouse called The Horror That Heals on Sunday nights. So, this is a particularly good time for me to share with you some of my thoughts on horror that heals, at least for me, in terms of my mental trauma. Um, for me, as a sufferer of complex PTSD, there are a lot of different things that set me off in the real world. I find that for me, horror is really the thing that helps me to deal with my triggers when they happen in the real world. It's sort of the safe space, it's the box that allows me to kind of play out my fears and, uh, basically spend a little bit of time getting to know what my trigger points are and become more comfortable with them so that when I'm in the outside world, maybe I can deal with them a little better than just being a deer in a headlight, which is what I would be alternatively if it weren't for horror. Additionally, I find that horror with its final girls, the final girls always make me feel better about my circumstances. It always echoes for me something of who I am, something of what I've lived through, something of the experience that I have come to know as my own. Of wow, we just made it through all this shit, and you know what, we've made it to the other side. Let's celebrate, but let's also be ugh, because we had to bring out the primordial ooze within us in order to get there. On the other hand, I also love the monster movies because, on some level, those also represent the monstrosity within me. I'm always cheering on some basic level for Freddy, for Dracula, for Frankenstein, because that is me on some level. Like, I'm always afraid of the monster within me, the thing that other people have to be afraid of. And I was always told that I was other in some sense. And I think that's something that binds a lot of the horror community together. So when I think about horror that's healed me in terms of my mental trauma, there are lots of movies I could list that have made a huge impact on my life. And literally every week, I have a different list of five or six. And, the one that comes up most commonly for me is the Babadook, just because it's a very clear metaphor for my grief, and the way that you have to feed your grief from moment to moment. But it doesn't stop there. Things like Battle Royale, Suicide Club from, Japanese cinema. You've got lots of other kinds of films like Martyrs, even Irreversible in its own way helps me cope with things that have happened in my life. And it's very strange to talk to people about this because they don't necessarily recognize why exactly horror can be so enormously healing. They look at the grotesquerie and they look at, the damage that it can inflict on poor young children's minds. But in my case, it very much healed mine. From age 3, watching Freddy Krueger in A Nightmare on Elm Street, this is very much who I am. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.